Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. So welcome to the last session of the day. This is an interactive workshop, so we will be doing things in this particular session, learning things, I'm sure. So my name is Jim Tuff. I'm an educational developer with CITL. I oversee our curriculum renewal service, so I may be in touch with Anne's group already, maybe some other groups as well down the road. So this session is going to be like a hands-on session, I've said before. So Justyna Carr will be our facilitator. So we'll go, pretty flexible, I think. So this session is scheduled at 4:30. So we'll leave it to Justyna how long you want to go. And I'll pass it over to Justyna. She can lead you through it. I can come around and help as well. And we have Mr. Paul Martin in the back, our tech support. He can provide some support as well. So we got lots of support here today.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, Jim. And welcome everybody. Familiar faces. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for coming. So as Jim mentioned, but a number of you know me. Actually, some of you know me, through work and know each other through other avenues. So I'm an instructional designer with CITL, and my job basically involves teaching or helping faculty learn about the technologies that we use in CITL, because it's not just Brightspace, but Brightspace is obviously, well, the main component of what we do. So I myself, I have an education background myself. I spent many years teaching, and my position really involves connecting the pedagogy with the technology. So if you ever have any questions about the technology itself, our support center is open 7 days a week. You can always reach out to them. If you have something that's a little more teaching related and like advice on that, that would be me. You can always reach out. So the title of today's session is Enhancing On-Campus Teaching with Brightspace. Often people think of Brightspace as a tool for online courses, and of course that's what we use for online courses. However, it can be used for other types of delivery or modes of delivery as well, including on-campus courses. And after COVID, students do have an expectation that instructors will be utilizing Brightspace to some extent, at least. So yeah, it's nice to know what it has to offer, because there's a lot that people actually don't know about Brightspace. And it's not about making it fancy, it's about really making your life as an instructor easier, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. So there's a Brightspace shell created for every course, every section of every course at MUN, and we also create all kinds of shells for non-academic purposes. So we have shells for committees, we have shells for different projects with student life, we have one for new faculty orientation, for course instructor orientation, those types of things. So we utilize my goodness, promotion and tenure is another creative use of Brightspace that we have implemented. Yeah, it's a really powerful tool, and hopefully I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the features that you might not know about, or perhaps give you a little more in-depth information about the features that you do know about and use. So because it's a small group, please feel free to jump in and ask questions, raise your hand, or just speak up at any point you feel you have a question or you would like to add something. All right. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is I do have a physical space. So if you ever want to connect, please feel free to reach out. It's best to email myself at the TLX email address, or my own MUN address, which is where I get 98% of the communication. But the space that we have is called Teaching and Learning Exchange. It's a room that's dedicated for instructor support. We do have computers, we do have various technologies that are used in some spaces at MUN. We, for example, have Immersive Solstice, which is a tool that we have in a number of classrooms in around campus, which allows for kind of interactive teaching. And you can experiment with it, for instance, in the TLX. So we can connect with you in any way you want. We can do it in person, some for in-person appointments, we can do it over Teams, WebEx, whatever works for you really. And we're quite flexible. So we have a couple of instructional designers. We have learning technology coaches. So there's staff there to answer any questions you might have. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions about anything I talk about today. All right, so Brightspace. I do have a little slide just to tell you what the difference between Brightspace and D2L is, because they are used interchangeably. So the product, the learning management system itself used to be called Desire to Learn, D2L. Then the company grew and they renamed the learning management system itself Brightspace. And the company kept the name, obviously, Desire to Learn, but they offer other products as well. So it's a learning management system that we've had at MUN for a very long time. And that's what we use for our courses and non-courses, is what I call them. Okay, so why use Brightspace for on-campus courses or on-campus teaching? So I'm just going to go through these benefits of using, trying to sell it to those who may not yet be convinced or may not be using it to the extent that, they could. And again, this is with a focus on instructors and making your life easier, making your teaching easier. So the three words that I would use to describe it is that it's efficient, it's flexible, and it's accessible. It's accessible to students in terms of, their location. They can access their courses remotely, but also accessible in terms of the accessibility features within Brightspace itself. If you have students who need an accommodation, for example, screen readers and things like that. So I'll talk about those in a little bit. So it allows you to manage your course from one place, which is lovely. It's a single access point. You have your course list there. You don't have to worry about, who has access to it, because the class list is populated based on the students' registration and banner. So it's all there. You can find your students. You can find their user IDs. If they're not, for example, visiting the course shell, you can find their email address and email them directly. Like, there's a lot of information about your students there, and it allows you to keep everything in one place, which is absolutely lovely. I would have loved it as an instructor. I wasn't using this particular management system as an instructor, but I really liked it. So you can keep all of your course materials and course assessments in one place. I know that I used to share a lot of materials and assessments, going back and forth with my students using my email, and it really became overwhelming, especially when COVID hit, and just the sheer number of emails that were coming was really affecting my mental health. So keeping it all organized in those buckets really helps. And also communication. I think that's my next one. Maybe the next one. So it provides easy access to content for students. They don't have to physically be in the class. They still have access to resources. Or if they miss the class, they can obviously come to Brightspace and find the content that you cover in class. The streamlined communication, I like that. Again, I don't like using my email, for example, for communication with students, just because it does become overwhelming. So just keeping it in one place is excellent. And it also makes it really efficient, because if you get an email from a student with a question, what I used to do is I would put it in the discussion forum without identifying the student, and I would answer it for everybody, right? So I would pull it out of my email and plug it into Brightspace, because that is how we communicate. It provides, it simplifies the grading process. You don't have to have multiple, you don't have to have a spreadsheet. You don't have to have papers. You don't have to have those emails. So all of it is centralized, and it has those built-in accessibility tools. And what I mean by that is that if you, for example, use a media library to create recordings in Brightspace, it generates captions. So that's one of the features. It has the Brightspace editor, which is a lovely tool to use. Instructors are sometimes wary of it just because it does involve HTML, but there are templates that you can use, and really there's not a whole lot that you need to do with those. So you can copy, for example, from your Word document into the template that's there. And it's accessible in the sense that if somebody is using a screen reader, the content is presented in such a way in the HTML language that the screen reader will read it fluently. Okay, whereas with Word documents or PDF documents, you actually have to follow some pretty strict guidelines in order to make them accessible for students who use screen readers. I know that doesn't happen, all that often, but it's something that we do have to think about. And students who have other accessibility needs, like an accommodation to the Blunden Center, to have an extended period of time for their assessment, that's also built into Brightspace, and I can go over that. Obviously, there's mobile access for students, so I'm not sure how many people are aware of the fact that students use an app on their phones or mobile devices called Brightspace Pulse, and that is how they get notified about any new content, any new assessment, any due dates that are coming up. So they have it right in their pocket, your course in their pocket at all times. Yeah, so if I haven't sold it by now, then I guess I failed. Any questions at this point?
About access for instructor side as well?
That is a really good question, and I have downloaded the mobile app myself, but it doesn't allow me to edit any content. So it really is only, for students. I can still see all my courses, but I can't actually do any editing. Yeah, so it's only like read only, basically.
Do you know if Brightspace might be working on that?
No, but I can ask them tomorrow, and I can
Lovely.
send you anything. Actually take a note, because I do have a meeting with a D2L person. Apparently there are some really cool features that have come out in the last couple of weeks, because there's actually a lot that they're changing. There are monthly updates that they do, and we, on our website, the CITL website, I can send it to you individually. But there are Brightspace updates, and some of the features that they're introducing are actually pretty cool. So it's nice to know what they're adding, because they are adding features all the time. So that was mobile version for instructors. Okay.
You can't edit through a browser.
Yes.
It's not super user
It's
friendly.
paying
It was doing this week, so.
Yes, it would be really nice.
Or even grading. I know this sounds weird, but like at least putting in the cursory mark in a comment, like on the photo is very tedious.
Yeah.
Small glass case.
Okay, so I'll go over some of the commonly used tools. Everybody knows those, I'm sure. Announcements are used frequently. Assignment folders, content for sharing content, uploading files, or using the HTML editors if you wish. Discussions, you can have them in class, you can have them, some people supplement, some instructors supplement with online discussions. The gradebook is used at some point in the semesters. Instructors have to use the gradebook in order to transfer their grades to Banner, but it can be used a lot more extensively and efficiently and in a transparent way. Quizzes are used, and that's it. So those are the really commonly or used tools. Any questions about any of those? I will go over some of them and focus a little more about the advantage of those, but anything at this point? Okay, if not, we'll go on to the next one. Underutilized tools in Brightspace. The calendar. I love the calendar. Some instructors don't use it. Students really do rely on reminders and on calendars of different forms. I mean, I know I would not survive without the one on my phone, and I only made the switch in the last couple of years. That's how they use the Brightspace app, Pulse. They really need the dates in the calendar. If you don't want them, to miss the dates, make sure you communicate the dates to them, not only in the course syllabus, and expect them to put it in their calendar. Use the calendar. It's very easy when you're setting up an assignment folder. Use the start and end date or end date only to let them know. Same with discussions. It's a really good communication tool, and you won't have to, look for those assessments or submissions from the students once the deadline passes. I know that Dr. Peters is a big fan of the course calendar because his daughter, when she was a student here, one instructor didn't use the calendar and she missed the deadline, and the whole family was very upset. It's really effective. Groups, that is not something that a lot of people use, and I really like the groups tool. It allows you to divide your students into groups for different purposes. You can have different groups for discussions. You can have different groups for, I don't know, a research project that students are supposed to do, a different one for a presentation. So it allows you to create different, combinations of students for different purposes. But the great thing about it is that Brightspace will do it for you automatically. I remember when I came to MUN as a student many years ago, to do my master's in education, I was a bit of an outsider. Most of the people in my program were teachers from the school system, and anytime there was group work involved, well, who do I work with? They're already organized into groups. So the fact that Brightspace will allow you to, randomize that, randomize the combination of the groups or composition of the groups is actually really helpful. It was kind of awkward to go over and say, hey, can I work with you guys, right? So us international students would usually form our own. Not ideal, not ideal. So like I said, the HTML editor in Brightspace, even though it may sound a little overwhelming, it actually is fairly easy to use, especially if you download the set of templates that CITL has created for Brightspace. And what you have there is your headers are there. So if a screen reader, reads to someone with a visual impairment, the text, all of that will be identified. Bullet points will be identified. The colors are already selected. I know some people like using a lot of color. That's not necessarily great because, visually difficult for somebody to process that. So that editor, and really all that it involves is you take, your syllabus, you copy and paste it, and then make those adjustments, and it's accessible, probably more accessible than the Word document that you might have if you haven't specifically gone through like a checklist for accessibility for Word. Intelligent agents, one of the best kept tools in Brightspace. You can send automatic emails. You don't actually send them, you just set them up, and Brightspace send emails to the students with the student's name included in the email. So you can welcome the students to the course. You can, send them a congratulations if, for example, they achieve a high grade on an assignment or a quiz that you also put in Brightspace. So they're personalized messages that you can send to students, but they're automated. So they think you're talking to them, but you're actually not. Or warning, that they're not performing all that well in the course based on an average that they may have at a particular point. So that's a pretty cool feature. We've used them in a number of courses, especially where the numbers are high and the instructor just can't do it. It's not possible. And it also establishes this, connection between the instructor and students. During COVID, the instructor presence was something that students complained about quite a lot or mentioned it as a big challenge. So, if you're teaching remotely, they would send their assignments or their work out and a grade would come back, and they didn't know if anybody was actually out there. But one instructor did say that when she sent a welcome message to the students, one of them almost cried because his name was there and the instructor was actually speaking to them and, just making that personal connection, but the student didn't know that it was, not really the instructor talking specifically to them. But they do the job. There is a place, a media library. So you don't have to keep your audio recordings or video recordings or whatever you want to share with the students in Brightspace in a separate, on a separate platform. Like WebEx used to be great, but now they delete videos after a certain period of time. A media library is basically a repository. It's a space where you can keep all of your recordings and then add them to your content, for example, or wherever you want to put them, your announcements, anywhere where the Brightspace editor is available. Rubrics. Love rubrics. I mean, I used to teach writing and obviously relied on rubrics really heavily. You can attach rubrics to, they really facilitate the both marking and also communicating with the student. So you give a student, you share a rubric with the students in Brightspace, so they know exactly what you're expecting. Then you use it for evaluation and just click, 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 and the grade basically populates itself based on how you have the rubric set up. And then the students see it when they get their grade. So it's fantastic. And you can use them with discussion posts. You can use them with assignments, and you can also attach a rubric to a grade item itself. If you're, for example, giving students a grade for participation or, something that's not built into Brightspace itself. So they're fantastic. Or a presentation, like an oral presentation. You can also have a grade item called oral presentation, attach a rubric, and then enter the students' grades in the grade book. And then surveys. Another underutilized tool, I promoted yesterday with that group I was meeting with. Check in with your students every now and then, see how they're doing, you know, like halfway through the semester, if there's anything that they would like to see more of, less of, just open up that communication. Surveys are a great tool. That's also built into Brightspace, and there is an option to submit the responses anonymously. Students will see that. That's when they tell you the truth, right? So yeah, it's all there, just not used all that much.
Yes, I like that. So since it's not about research and it's about course evaluation, you have freedom to just go ahead and input.
Absolutely, yes. And that's what we recommended to instructors in the period when we didn't have course evaluation questionnaires, or we moved away from those, and now it's a course experience type of thing. Yes. So we recommended using surveys. Yes, because yeah, students really want to share, right, that information, especially if it's anonymous. And it looks it's very similar to the quiz tool. So you have similar types of questions, but there's also a Likert scale option there as well. So just your typical survey. And the video assignment tool, one of my favorites. It is something that's not, it's not something that D2L has created, but they built it or integrated it with Brightspace. And it's basically a tool that allows students to record either a presentation or a group presentation, because you can set up a group project for the students, or you can, for example, create like an oral exam type of assessment using this video assignment tool, where a question pops up on the screen. You give students like 3 seconds to prepare, and then a recording starts, and they have to answer that question. And you can randomize the questions for the students. So it really is like an old-fashioned oral assessment, but it is packaged as a video. They submit it through Brightspace. Very easy for the students to do. And yeah, it's a great alternative to, you know, some of the more AI-friendly types of assessments these days. But it can also be just for a presentation. They can record it and submit it. And I love it because it allows students to create a 20 gigabyte file, which is like a 2-hour recording, basically. And in other places, if students wanted to upload something from their computer to Brightspace, the maximum is 2 gigabytes. So this, you know, prevents like calls to like client support. Hey, I can't submit it. My file is too large. What do I do? A great little tool. And WebEx. And also I should have added online rooms. WebEx can be integrated with Brightspace, but it's really great for meetings with students, for office hours. You don't have to sit in the office and wait for them. You can open up a WebEx session, you know, on, I don't know, a Monday afternoon, and post it in the announcements. You're going to be there if anybody has any questions, or a few days before that big assessment is due. Yeah, and you can do it from home, and I've done it. Sometimes nobody shows up. Sometimes, you know, people kind of trickle in and out. Or you can also set up office hours where specifically like a student, you know, books a particular slot. So yeah, WebEx allow you to do it right from within Brightspace. Any questions at this point? Yes, Lori.
Would you mind showing us the intelligent agent?
Absolutely. Yes.
Please? I have not seen that before.
No, yeah, it's a pretty well hidden tool. I know, I really like it. So when you go to course admin in your course, or admin, the tool is right here, intelligent agents. So, okay, so this is what I have. Course login reminder is one type of intelligent agents. Oh yes, I'm actually going to tell you how we used it recently. There's a course MUN 101 for students who are just entering MUN. And so it's kind of an orientation to MUN. They don't do it in person anymore, they do it online. And there's a certain number of tasks that students need to complete. The person who's kind of running it, overseeing it, she said, students never know whether, like, how many tasks they've completed, where they are in the journey. You know, they just don't know. And there's a low completion rate for that course, which is also in Brightspace course. We added intelligent agents. So every time they complete a task, they get an email saying, hello, you just completed task 1 out of 7, you know, so it's that type of communication, but it's automated. So, I have here another example, great work on assignment, whatever, 1, great work on the quiz, no course activity, and here I actually have some text. So the way you would create it, and if you want to create them in your course, we can help you set them up. You create, you give a name, you decide whether you want to run it just once or maybe every week. Again, it depends on the type of thing you want to communicate to the students. So yeah, we can figure this out based on your context. And
So if you want to say, encouraging work last class or
yes,
excellent, responses
Yeah.
last week or something.
Exactly. Yes. So if a student, for example, submits a post to a discussion forum that's not, I don't know, mandatory, let's say,
Yeah.
you can send them an intelligent agent. Thank you for contributing to, the discussion forum. I noticed your response. So the emails are set up down here. Let's say, okay. The way it works, okay, it may seem a little confusing at the beginning, but you would just type in your message and you would put a replace string in there. So it's like HTML code that allows Brightspace to pull the name of the student and put it into the content of the message, right? So it would just say, hi, Jim, or hello, Jim, great work on your last assessment. And you can set it up. For example, anybody who got over 80 on a quiz would get that kind of a message. It would
And
just.
you would put
yeah.
their email address at the top.
Yeah, so it wouldn't actually be their email address. It would be one of those codes. Again, we would help you set it up. We do have instructions for it, Lori. I can actually send it to you afterwards because we do have like a set of pages devoted to this because I was just so excited about it. I had to,
This is great.
write it up and then nobody ever looked at it. It is really nice. I feel like it's a little bit cheap, but not really. Students do appreciate it.
Because the feedback is so important to keep.
Yes, keep them motivated, right?
Going.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody likes sending messages into a void, right? I mean, you post in the discussion forum, which I kind of have a love and hate relationship with myself. But you never know if anybody reads that. I'm gonna feel that way about my work a little bit as well, not because it's mostly because the CITL website is just not very intuitive, let's say. If there was one, that would be great, but I think we have 4 or 5 and they're not well integrated. So again, Dr. Peter said, I know that CITL has really good resources, if only you could find them. So so I can send you the information on those intelligent agents, which kind of gives you a bunch of examples and also takes you through the steps. But if you have any questions, just reach out.
Sorry, can you show us one that's complete?
Yes.
Back to the settings. We have 2 questions. Can you just go back to the menu there?
Yes, sure, absolutely. I can show you one that I already have set up actually. Let's get this one. Okay, so we go to edit. Okay. This is not where it should be. Okay, so the text, oh, now I know. Okay, no, sorry. It's a silly one. Now, I would go to a course where we have used it, but I never asked for permission. So maybe I shouldn't do that.
That's okay. I was just kind of curious about the actual implementation. Like I can see that you have like on the other page it said last time this was run and stuff. So like do you
Right.
automate like when the rule is run as well, or do you have to go into the intelligent agent list and actually manually run them?
You can do either. So you can set it up to run just one time, for example, on a Friday evening, or Monday morning or whatever it is. Or you can do it manually whenever you wish to. I'm actually going to go to the 101. I don't think they would mind. I mean, it's a pretty open course. I'm just going to show you what that looks like here.
For what it's worth, I don't think they'd care.
I don't think so, no. Right, you work with us, yes. Pretty open course. It's not like there's any intellectual property. Oh yeah, so this one runs every day at 5 p.m. every day. So I can see that, a couple of people completed task 1 since yesterday. And this is what it looks like. So this agent is enabled. It runs every day at 5 p.m. So we only have it set up until the end of the semester. And right, this is important. So only select students, otherwise you will be getting messages as well if you didn't complete something in particular. So yeah, all of that is explained in that resource. And right, so the release conditions, again, part of my job is explaining what the dual language means in like to normal people. So release conditions, you can kind of figure this out. But it's what's going to release the agent. So you have a variety of possibilities here. If you create one, and you have this feature in many places in Brightspace. So for example, you can release a content module based on like a sample quiz that students did at the end of a previous module. So you would set up a release condition there as well. So here what we have is completing a quiz. So that's one of the options. You can see that there are a lot of possibilities. So if a student achieves or gets, I think 70% or 80% on one of the quizzes, that's what's going to release the agent to them. So release conditions is what you will be looking at here. Oh, in this particular case, it was 100% because it's just one question. If you get it wrong, come on, try again. So instead of the email, the replace string is what's called the code is initiating user. So that's how Brightspace knows that they're supposed to insert the name or the email of the student that's triggered that agent. And here's the message that they would get. So the subject is, task 1 out of 8 completed. Hello, Peter, Julie, congratulations, you've successfully completed task 1. You have 7 more to go, best or good luck or whatever. So that's the email that they get. It seems like you're talking to them, which is
Presumably that's their course mail, not their actual money email?
yes.
Is there a way to program to actual money?
I do believe there is. I would have to read a little bit about it because there is a way to do that. We always used to tell instructors that there is no way because I don't think the DQL really wants you to do it, but one of my colleagues did find a way to do it.
And what's my other question? Oh, when you duplicate a shell, do all the agents come with it?
Yes.
And then do you have to, do they, by default, is it that they're not running? Or do you have to go in before they
That's a good question.
start doing stuff?
Because you know what? That's actually a really good question because it's only in the last 6 months or so that intelligent agents started to be included in the course package that's imported. So it's a really new change. I can't remember where we are at this point, if they're enabled or not. But I'll check on that as well.
Are they all date stamped?
Yes,
That might be the issue, right? So,
right. You would have to adjust
so
the
if you bring it
dates.
in, it probably brings in the same date, so it'll be.
Oh, yeah, no, that's why I'm concerned, because I'm like,
you'd
I
have
feel like I
update.
had a shell that was duplicated with agents and I never went into this
Right.
thing. And I was like, I don't know if it was sending students
Yeah.
emails,
So
so.
it's probably charged for the previous semester or something, but so the dates would have to be updated.
Yeah, so you would have to come here either way, right? But they may just
Yeah.
by default sort of disable that feature when
Yeah,
you.
but once you get used to it, you would know, like, it's part of your standard operating
Exactly.
procedure, go into the agents, do all the dates, like you would do the calendar and everything
Yes,
else.
exactly,
Yeah.
with announcements or assignments and things like that, right? It would adjust the dates, yes. Those agents, how do they copy? Note to self. Okay, that's good. Right. Yeah, it's a nice little tool for sure. Okay, so can't believe that I only have 25 minutes left and still like most of my slides. So no, I'm going to go through these. Really, it seems like from what I know about you, you're already familiar with Brightspace. So I just didn't know what kind of an audience was going to be in the room, whether it's people who've never used it before. So, I had some other information and I can go through it really quickly. But really, it's just going back to some of the tools and, presenting the benefit of using them. So for example, announcements, they're awesome. Some instructors use them, to present like chunks of content. Don't do that, I would say. Keep that for content. A reminder about an upcoming due date never hurts. I know they're supposed to have the calendar, but it never hurts. Really, it makes your life easier because, the students who may have forgotten for whatever reason will actually get the work to you. A colleague of mine, even though she was teaching on campus, she would always post a weekly overview. So she had that released because announcements can also be released at a particular time. So every Friday at 4 p.m., she would have an overview for what was coming next week. A great use of announcements. General feedback on assessments. I remember always used to take notes in addition to the feedback I would give to the students. I would also make notes like for the whole class. This would be a good place to post it. I know that instructors do that. Brightspace email, yes. Make it clear to the students. You only want to communicate through Brightspace email, not your MUN email. keeps it nice and organized. Discussions, that's also a great place. Not necessarily for discussions that are content related, but obviously, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, but any course related. So create a forum for the students where they can ask those questions. And also, like I said, if they send you an email asking for something course related, just copy the content, put it here and answer it for everybody. I know I actually did speak to an instructor recently who just doesn't answer anything that's answered in the syllabus. He just deletes the email if he gets a question about anything in the syllabus. A little harsh, not really my style, but I always used to just copy and paste into discussions. So questions about the course was the forum. Online office hours, set them up through WebEx or online rooms and communicate to the students that way. And the surveys, again, a great way to get feedback from the students partway through the term, at the end of the term. So yeah, all of that communication is organized within the tool, within the LMS, the learning management system. Your syllabus, your course readings, your lecture notes, any media content, PowerPoints, videos, links to YouTube or another platform could be there. Direct links to course assessments. It's really nice to have all of that organized. I'm going to show you in a moment what that may look like, because I did download into this course, not this one, my course, the set of templates. They're called Course Setup Kit, Brightspace Course Setup Kit. So it comes with a bunch of pages already done for you. So what you would do is you would just take chunks of your syllabus and perhaps put them on separate pages. It depends how you have your syllabus organized. It doesn't have to fit all of the categories that you see here. You can delete anything that you don't need, but it's a really good starting point. So for example, if you go to About Your Instructor page, all that you do is you go in, you edit, and yeah, you put your information in there, but the formatting is already done for you and the accessibility is built into this. So we have your syllabus, and what I wanted to show you, oh yes, course schedule, really nice to have it as a separate page because students will click on it. They won't send you an email, they will click on it if it's visible right there in the table of contents. So here, for example, okay, you can have an overview, you can have your content pages or just uploaded materials. If, it's perfectly fine, your readings that you've selected for the course, but you can also have your assignments or activities. So this is something I was going to ask you to do later, but I don't think we're going to have time to do it. So if you go to existing activities and go to assignments, you can, for example, link your assignment one right here. Okay, so you have a whole list of the things that are going to be happening this week. It's a really nice use of the content tool. And then if there's a quiz or a discussion, we'll go to quizzes, quiz 1, and it's all here. So students come to the content page and it tells them exactly what needs to be done in that module or in that particular week.
Sorry, I have another duplication question. When you duplicate the Brightspace shell and you have a quiz linked, it comes with the quiz. Does it link to the new quiz or is it the old quiz?
So it copies the quiz as well, right, from the previous shell. So it will be linked to the same quiz. But I would always check my links when copying. Yeah, that's one of your elements of your procedure. Is what
I do
say.
it backwards actually, where like my course home using the announcements. So I don't know if this would be helpful for anybody, but I like have one pinned announcement tool where I list all of the quizzes right there instead of doing it in the content.
Ah, okay. Yeah, absolutely. And if that works, that's excellent. Yeah. So just one pinned announcement with all the links to the quizzes. Yes, because that's something that you can obviously do here. So if you, for example, create a new announcement, what you can do is don't forget about quiz 1, do whatever. And what you can do, oh my gosh, what you can do is you can hyperlink it to the quiz. So that's what you do, right, Emma?
Yeah, and you would still have to audit that every time you duplicate, but like I at least know that there's just one post and not have to do it for each content.
That's a very good tip. Yeah. So here we go. Oh, okay, quiz 1. Yeah, absolutely. That's excellent. But I do like those hyperlinks for sure. Okay, quiz 1, right? So students come here to announcements, they click, they go to the quiz. Yeah. Okay. So yes, start date and end dates, that's something that I added there as well. If you want to release your content gradually, you don't have to come on Monday morning and release it to the students. You can use the start and end dates to do that if you wish to. So the grade, I was going to set up a grade book, but I think you're already familiar with this process. So but if you have any questions, please ask them. I love the grade book. This is the first thing that I always ask instructors to set up at the beginning of the term for a variety of reasons. The fact that students do have the grades available, they're not just in your spreadsheet, they are, accessible to the students. However, they never see their final grade, either the calculated grade or the final adjusted grade. They only see grades for the individual assessments. Yeah, all the assessments can be in one place. And even if you have a combination, for example, of online submissions and assessments that they do in class, you can still, just manually enter the grades for the in-class assessments into the grade book. The transparency is there. There are various grading schemes, and I've used them in a number of courses. So you don't always have to have this percentage-based grade book. There are also pass and fail options. There's a variety of things that you can do. There was a course, it was actually a 3-week intensive course where any student who submitted something, got a pass on that assignment. So yeah, we just set it up in a different way. So there are options there. The fact that you can link your quizzes and your assignments and your discussions directly to the gradebook, so you don't have to enter the grade twice. It's sent there automatically from the assessment to the gradebook is great. You do have auto grading available for quizzes, which saves a lot of work. There's also anonymous grading available for assessments or blind marking, where unless the student or students put their names in the submission document itself, you can do it without, you can grade without the bias if you know their name. The feedback tools are just wonderful. So I already mentioned the rubrics. It's really only the last couple of years that the rubrics have been really user-friendly. They're built into the assignment tool so that you have everything on a single screen, because before it used to be a pop-out and it was just really clunky. But right now you open a student submission, you have their submission on one side, you can annotate it using the tools that are there. You can open the rubric, and if you hover, more text pops up. It's just really user-friendly, and you just click a few times and then you can make adjustments to the points that the rubric calculated. You can enter text feedback. And I had an instructor once who broke her right arm just before the end of the semester, and the only feedback that she would give to the students was audio or video. Came very handy. Yeah, so you can do that as well. She wasn't able to type. And the group assessments. So you can just create your group, you can create an assessment for that group. And if 5 people submit the same document, only one of them needs to upload it, and then you grade it. All feedback goes to all 5, and the grade goes to all 5. That's fabulous. And those automated emails, the intelligent agents that I was talking about, can be linked to a grade in the gradebook as well. So gradebook is one of the things that can trigger an email sent to the students. I don't think I have to sell this, the assignment collection and grading. Everything is timestamped. You can decide whether you want to be really, if you want to have a hard end date or just a due date. One thing about the assignments, and that's something I do not like, and I hope that they're going to change it. I just wanted to quickly mention that to you. So if you set up a new assignment folder, what I don't like is that if you set up a start date or end date, you actually have to manually add it to the calendar. Okay, so it's kind of hidden a little bit. So you have to select this option for those dates to be shown in the calendar. I think that should be a default thing. Not every instructor looks for that option, so I don't like it. Just something to remember, because dates for discussions, dates for content, dates for quizzes, all of them automatically go to the calendar, but not the one for assignments for whatever reason. So to leave that. Oh yes, start date versus end date. Everybody understands that. Yeah, so with either a hard date where students can no longer submit, which can give you a headache if they don't actually submit. I much prefer the due dates. It's timestamped, you know that somebody submitted late, you decide what to do with it, right? Rather than reopen the assignment folder for a particular, student. Yeah, and again, those feedback tools, rubrics, in-text annotations, you can put sticky notes, in like on top of the submission in Brightspace, you can highlight, and then the text, video, and audio are awesome. Yeah, a lot of them have the same benefits. So the gradebook and the assignments, there's a bit of an overlap there. The accessibility. So why? That just happened. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm just going to share this one because I'm not sure if it's the mouse or what. So the built-in accessibility tools. Yeah, so I already mentioned you have your Brightspace editor. So any Brightspace editor looks exactly the same. You can type, look for instructions in the syllabus, let's say. You can do your formatting here. Let's say, you want this to be a heading. You just change it here. You can highlight. You have a variety of different options. You can, link this to the syllabus. And if you use colors or any fancy features, what you can do is, oh no, that's not it. I have to open it like this. Here, they just changed the icon like in the last month or so. You can check for accessibility. Which I do like. Used to look just a little bit different. So yeah, that's already built in. Like I said, if you record anything in the media library, it's going to create captions for you, which is pretty standard these days. Yeah, you can give students special access for flexible deadlines. So if somebody doesn't submit on time, you can open it, in the assignment tool or in the quiz and give that particular student access to a quiz or assessment. And the accommodation, that's something that instructors don't know. So I don't know. Some instructors use the quizzes tool, for example, fairly extensively for their on-campus courses anyway. So for example, they, say, okay, our class is from 9 to 9:50, but you don't come to class that day from 9 to 9:50, you do your quiz at home. Yeah, well, that's one way to do it. But if you have a student who has an accommodation through the London Center, what you can do is, if you go to communication and then your class list, if you select a student, what you can do is you can set up an accommodation for them right here. So every quiz that they take that semester is going to be already multiplied, or the extra time will be added here for every quiz. A couple of years ago, you had to do it for every quiz individually. So if you had 30 of them in the semester, that would be a lot of work. And now you can just do it here, and it's already applied to every quiz in course. So that's quite convenient. And yes, I was going to talk about groups just because I love groups, but I already said some of the things I was going to say here earlier. So, it's more manageable. Group work is just, if you have, a class of 150, that's the only way to go. You can get students to submit. Well, you can, but, it's just more manageable to assign group work. So yeah, create the groups in Brightspace, create assignment folders for them in Brightspace, create a discussion group for them in Brightspace where they can talk about the assignment. You don't have to monitor it, but the system allows you to do it. And yeah, you can have different compositions of those groups. So then I had your task, but I don't think we're going to do it. If I had true beginners, I would have left some time for this. But are there any questions or any comments, or is there anything you would like me to go over again or explain more?
That was great. That was terrific. Thank you.
Oh,
It's a nice refresher course and a few new things.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The other tip I would add,
Mhm.
my experience is using the hidden and visible option toggle. So there's no development, you have one shell. So if you want to develop stuff online without sharing, just hide it. Work on it for like whatever. Or you can set up some with the calendar so it'll make things live at a certain point. But if you're not into that, because I taught a course last year and I used an online shell for an in-person offering, which just was kind of geared towards, right? And students kind of liked it, but because I was in an area where other profs didn't use it, they were surprised to see an online shell. So basically, it was an online course that I taught the course online and I taught it in person. So getting back to your point about duplication, I taught it 2 semesters consecutive semesters. So by making things hidden way out, you can have a lot of pages in your shell. Your shell can be loaded, but the students are only seeing a fraction of it. So if you're reusing shells, it's good that you're bringing a duplicate shell.
Right.
And if you don't have time to edit it, just shut everything down and then make it
That's a
visible.
good idea.
There's only the instructor, which would be you or a super
Right.
TA, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a workaround for not having two shells,
Yeah.
a development shell and a
Nice
production
feature.
shell. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And you can always see what your students are seeing. It's not a true view, but for content, it's a true
Yeah,
view.
that's a good thing to check on, just to make sure that things are hidden.
Yes.
Do you have a video assignment you could show us? I'm curious about
Do indeed have a video assignment.
how it looks on both ends.
Oh, of course, students can see it because I'm here. And sometimes I forget to turn off that student view and then I look for something, I know it was there. So video assignment. So it can only be created, it can be created in the assignment folder, or assignments folder, that's what they call it. It can only be created within the content. So you can see here that it's actually, it's an external learning tool. So what I have here is I do have an individual presentation. So we can go to that and take a look at it. Okay, so I already have it set up. Okay, I have to go to configure because I've already finished creating it. So the configuration page or the page where you would set it up is here. And they introduced this little menu here, which is really nice. It looks more like, it blends better with Brightspace. So you have a due date that also gets sent to the calendar for when students are supposed to submit it, but it's due date. You don't have start or end dates here. You know, course syllabus, it depends on. I always encourage instructors to have instructions for an assignment only in one place, not two, not three. Because sometimes when something changes from one semester to the next, you will update it in one place, but not in the other two. There's a lot of confusion. So sometimes I just send students to the syllabus for instructions because all the instructions are there and they're all up to date. So then you have, you can add a rubric, okay? So you can create it, or you can just have a percentage when you're grading, you know, you can choose, or auto pass. If they submit, they pass. There are more options here as well. And something that they introduced recently is the AI feedback tool. So a student can do a recording and then they can run it through this AI tool that will tell them whether, like how many pauses they had, you know, the clarity of speech and the rate of speech and so on, and how many fillers, stuff like that. So it can be really quite helpful. And students can view this, you know, analyze their own recording and then decide, no, I want to re-record and do it again. Your tool set is here, so you can allow camera or the screen or camera and screen, or you can have it audio only, or they can upload as well. So they don't have to record within Brightspace. If they have a recording on their device, they can just upload it here as well. So there are a couple of avenues to submit it. You can implement peer review if you would like. Yeah, you can set this up if I've never really had a whole lot of luck with peer review, to be honest with you. So yeah, I'm not really.
A nice idea, but
Yes, it's a,
you
yeah,
have to teach the peers how to respond.
yeah, exactly.
Before.
Yes, yes. I think it's probably because I got really burned by a really bad peer review I got because somebody, oh yes, it was supposed to be a critique, but the student, again, an international student I was working with as a pair, thought that it was criticism and wrote me this very negative review, and this is not helpful at all. So yeah, the professor, yeah, kind of had to deal with that. But yeah. There's also, oh yes, this, so there's a group presentation. So students, for example, if they don't have to be in the same space to record a group presentation, they can do like an interview, for example, in a foreign language class or, you know, something like that. But they are able to set up their online room sessions within Brightspace, and that's where they can practice, they can discuss what they want to present, and then they can hit record and submit. It's the same company. The same company created the video assignment as the online rooms that are already integrated in Brightspace. It's Bongo. And there's a question and answer video assignment. So that's an interesting one. That's the one that resembles that old-fashioned oral exam, which is how
I like that idea.
yeah, me too. High stakes, high stress, but fairly effective. Students really have to think, you know, on their feet. So I had a percentage here set up. So here, you know, here are your questions. Students only see the question on the screen for a few seconds, then the recording. You can I can't remember where that is, but it's somewhere here. It's very intuitive, the way you set it up. It's not very difficult at all. But at some point you're prompted to enter how many seconds they have to collect their thoughts. Not enough to, use ChatGPT or whatever it is. So they really have to think on their feet, answer the question, and then they, it gets packaged as a single recording and submitted to you.
Would you give the questions ahead of time? Like a set, here are 20 questions, 5 will be selected or something like that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I remember my oral exams were like that. We would get a list of questions, for example, 30 questions, and you can get asked any of those, right, during the oral exam. Yeah, kind of depends on your
There
context.
being that they could preload that into AI if you give it to them in advance, and then they could have a transcript to read from.
Yeah, but you would see if they're reading, right? Probably, unless they had those special glasses that were discussed
How do
this
you get
morning.
around that? How do you get around that? Because it's nice to have or you could say, it's nice that the questions aren't surprises.
Yes, I
It's
like that
very
idea
hard
too.
to
Yes.
collect your thoughts and
absolutely. Mhm. Yeah, I like
but
the
maybe
idea.
give topics rather than questions.
That's a good
Right.
idea.
Topics, these are the 10 topics,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to provide the questions.
Right, but the recording can be immediate. You don't have to give any pause either. So you kind of, they see the question immediately, it starts. So even if they had a transcript, you would see them fumble trying to find it. Yeah.
Yeah, so for this one, they can't pre-record and then upload a recording.
No,
It's like
no,
through
here it
the
has to be
system.
live, yeah.
Real
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you set a time limit? Like, sorry, if I
Yes.
missed it.
Yes, you can.
Their time limit for like how long the response is?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep, like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, yes.
And would they see a timer as they're recording?
That's something that I would have to test. I think that they do have a timer, but I'm not 100% sure.
So
But
they're
that's a
like
really good
talking and then it's
question.
like, oh, done, like.
Right, yeah. I know, because sometimes you're not aware, right, how quickly time passes yet.
And then,
No,
sorry, go ahead, go
No,
ahead.
sorry, I was just wondering if you know of any profs that are using
Yes.
it and have used it successfully?
Yes. Yeah, there's somebody in education, she teaches math education, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, she used it. We kind of had to convince her a little bit to give it a try because she thought it might be too complicated for students, but she did, and it was quite
Because
successful.
back in the day, oral exams were the best exams, but they were the worst exams.
Yes, yeah. I know, I love them and hate them, yeah.
That's where you really get at what your students know.
And if somebody is really stressed about this, then you can accommodate them in a different way,
course.
right? Yeah. Doesn't have to be all or nothing. I don't need to run then.
Or the office yet.
Well, thank you very much for attending. I really appreciate you coming, and I hope you learned a thing or two.
Definitely.
And
Fantastic, thank
reach
you.
out to you if you have any questions.
Implementation might raise a few more questions, but that's awesome.
Excellent.
Terrific.
Thank
That
you.
concludes the session. Thank you all for coming. So I'd like to present Justyna with parting gift, appreciation.
Thank you.
Please move this around to all the CITL employees.